Men don't have to think about this. Like, women actually have to think about like how they are perceived, how they need to dress and look and behave in order to actually be taken seriously.
That show body or stage body is not gonna last long. So I put so much weight. After winning 5 gold medals and dropping 8 kgs, I put on 14. I developed a lot of eating disorders, and me being a nutrition coach, and I was like, hey,
If you don't fill your own cup first, like, you're literally pouring from an empty cup. I know it's a very cliche term to use, and people have probably heard it a million times on podcasts in the past, but I think we need to remind ourselves of it, because we have to get it through our skulls that like we do need to prioritize ourselves.
the more that we age, the bone starts to get thinner. So that's what we call bone density. We want to train and we want to eat for longevity.
What choices I'm making at the moment are really about how I want to look or feel right now, but we really should be always thinking about like, how do we want to look and feel 50 years from now?
If you want to really help with your anxiety, your depression, the way that you're eating is going to really impact that.
You probably can understand why I pulled her in as my coach and hired her as my coach, because she is incredible. In this episode, we're going to talk about the dark side of discipline and the truth about transformation. We're going to be joined by my coach and personal PT, Steph. She has an incredible background, 5 gold medals in the fitness industry. She's competed in bodybuilding competitions. She's had a stellar career working in communications, being a lecturer at university, being very immersed in the education world, and then turning herself into a fitness instructor and coach and nutritionist specializing in gut health. There's going to be loads of information here on how to actually find the right coach, the red flags to look out for, and tips for health and nutrition for your goals, whether that be to lose weight or gain weight. And there's a lot of mindset stuff in here too. So check it out. Hey, Steph.
Hi.
Welcome to next season.
Thank you, Amanda. How are you?
I'm good. For those who don't know who Steph is, I've got a bit of a bio here, but I will also mention that Steph is actually my PT and my coach. That's how we've met. Every time I speak to Steph, I find out another layer to her world and her story, and she's an incredibly fascinating person. So we're going to jump into that in a second. You're a certified personal trainer in nutrition as well, gut advisor and wellness coach, referring to notes because I want to get it right. An ex-bodybuilder competitor.
Yep.
Winner of not 1, but 5 gold medals in 2022. You're going right through COVID to achieve that as well, which is very, very cool. And recognised by this is a big one, recognised by the General Consulate of Colombia in 2024 as the Person of the Year in the category of sport, thanks to all of your work in the fitness industry.
Yes.
It's pretty impressive. But we were just chatting offline before the camera started to roll, and fitness wasn't always the first sort of career option for you. You had a passion for education. We both have bachelors in communication, and you were working as a very young, at the time, lecturer of a university. So tell us a little bit about Steph's journey, where it all started, and bring us up to speed to today.
Thank you so much, Amanda, again. I'm so excited to be here because we truly have deep conversations during our sessions. And that doesn't mean that we don't work hard. We really work hard. But as well, during our break times, we get sometimes very deep. But yes, as you said, I have as well a bachelor's in communication. I've always been like a very rushed woman. I wanted to achieve so much when I was really young. So I went straight into my master's degree in marketing, and I had really good jobs. I'm from Colombia. I worked in private and public universities over there, and my role was to be a lecturer or a professor. And it was a very fascinating experience because I was really young, dressing up like at that time I was like 25, 26, and I was dressing up as a 35, 40-year-old woman, trying to gain that respect that I thought, because most of the people that work in that industry, usually they're already mature.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of experience. And I think I was lucky enough to gain that great position of being able to, impact lives in a classroom or auditoriums. It was a great experience, but as well eye-opener, because I thought that I always been a sporty girl, always been very sporty. I played football, I did marathons in aerobics, and I was involved in a lot of sports. So I always liked it. And then I thought that was going to be my path, education, and then maybe, in sports doing something. But then I came to Australia and everything changed, but I feel like it was for the better because I'm now living my best life, I think.
As we were talking before, you have faced some hurdles in coming to Australia and giving up on your initial dream and leaving, I guess, the traditional sort of education route behind in terms of the lecturing because of some inappropriateness on part of your boss, I guess, at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you
Not
want to
my
tell us a little
direct
bit about
boss, so basically I was really lucky when I did my master's degree. I had a great professor there, and that was the person that scouted me and saw apparently a great potential. So he brought me to his university, and I started working there in the International Affair Office, and then I was as well giving lectures and all of that. And then the last year becomes a little bit weird. Complicated. Basically, he was harassing the whole time. He was like very into it. So at the beginning, I didn't want to accept that that was happening. I thought, I don't know, I was doing a really good job, so he was very into what I was doing. But then it became a little bit confusing, and it was very stressful. And that's when I developed a little bit of panic attacks and a little bit of anxiety. And one day, I won't forget that date. It was December, and I was just like, can't do this anymore. Just gonna hit my resignation letter. And I was like, not anymore. And I really need a change. Like, I'm sick of this. I'm tired, and has been a very stressful year. And then my partner was super, super supportive. And he's like, let's just go. Let's find, I don't know, a new place. Let's find new opportunities. Let's take a break of everything, and let's try to see what is out there for us. And when I arrived here, I took a whole year of, I was telling you, switching off my brain, doing like random works and jobs and trying to.
At the time,
yeah.
you were saying, yeah.
And I was spending basically 3 hours at the gym, having a great time. And then I was like, you know what? This has been the one thing that from all the changes, I really love the most, and I've been missing, in a matter of what if I do this professional, like just as a hobby, and maybe because I already had a good background of being a good teacher, maybe I could teach, but in a different industry. So I will never let go that thing that I have, I think, in my genes, because my mom is a school teacher and my dad is a PR, and he loves teaching, like teaching and talking in public. So I was like, maybe that's in me, but maybe in a different industry, in a different way. And I feel like when I did that, everything started to be super clear, and I was like, oh, this is what I truly love.
So, I mean, it all worked out in the end, but knowing what you know now and being obviously more mature and more wise, and I guess this would be good advice for any other younger people who might be listening. If they're in that situation, I mean, what else could you have done? I mean, like, you just literally had to leave a job because of the unwanted advances, and I guess like sexual sort of like, I'm not entirely sure the extent of like what was going on, but obviously you felt very, very uncomfortable, and it was very unwanted attention that you were receiving. And was it because you were young and beautiful? Because you mentioned before, like feeling like you needed to dress more maturely and more professionally to fit in. I mean, I even can relate to that when I worked in politics and dyed my hair brown and was wearing all the grey suits and sort of trying to dull myself down too, because you don't want to stand out. You don't want to attract men, I guess. You want to be taken like seriously as a professional. And it sounds like you were really trying to do all of those things, that intentionally you went into it. And this is the thing, like, men don't have to think about this. Like, women actually have to think about like how they are perceived and, you know, how they need to dress and look and behave in order to actually be taken seriously. Is there anything else that you think you could have done, or is just getting out and coming to Australia, like, what advice would you give anyone else in that same situation?
Well, I feel like I was lucky enough to have a good support system. Like, my parents and my partner, they were like, just take your time, don't worry. But of course, it's the self-pressure that we on ourselves thinks that everyone is expecting something from us. Because as you were saying, during that period of time, I was even doubting if I should smile or not. Because when you smile too much, you might be, oh, that person might think
Take the
this.
signal.
Yeah, and you start doubting about yourself. So I feel like a great advice is that I tried very late, but I will do it if I can turn the clock back. Yeah. It will be just have a therapist that I can talk about these things, that has the right tools and to give you maybe the slap in your face sometimes that we need.
Yeah.
Because we might be right, we might be wrong, but because you have so many people that love you around you, they always gonna give that back and be like, everything is gonna be fine. But people are not educated to give you the right tools. So I feel like from a very young age, us for females, we should be having therapists to really make sure we are educating ourselves and really getting understanding about who we are.
Yeah,
so
and boundaries as well.
And boundaries,
That's
yeah.
a big thing, because I think as a young person, and I was actually talking to Jack about this morning, because for me, boundaries was a foreign concept until I was in my late 30s. Like, I'd never even like understood what it was or why you needed them. I'd been a chronic people pleaser my whole life, and very similar to you, very ambitious, very competitive in nature, which meant that if anything was ever wrong or unjust, I would try and work through it, and I would try and change it, and I would try and fix it. And I wouldn't want to give up, certainly not to something like that, because it feels like defeat. It feels like you've let someone else take something away from you, so you fight it.
Exactly.
And sometimes you just need to know like when to walk away, or you need to know how to instill those boundaries in the beginning to not even welcome any kind of, you know, behavior from people that makes you feel uncomfortable.
And I feel like in uni, even if you do whatever career, you don't have that information, or there's no one there to explain you about that. That the real world, it's sometimes beautiful, but some other times are not as great. And I feel like for young people, even men, being able to have those tools, it will be great, because the more that you know about yourself, the more boundaries you know that you are fearless to really make sure you're saying thanks, but no. Or yes, I will take this. And now being that in that position of being so doubting about yourself, and unfortunately there's a lot of people that they don't want you to really be successful, and they will do anything to just
Sabotage that.
Exactly. And sometimes it's even your own voice being like, you're not that intelligent, you're not that strong, you know what, there's better people than you, so just stay there. So I feel like having someone that it can help you, giving those tools, it will be a great thing to do when you're really young, because then once you mature, you'll have that emotional intelligence to make a lot of great decisions. And you know that if you're making them, it's because you already know so much about you that you can create the future or the present that you truly desired.
Yeah, because I've always thought like it's such a tall ask, even for a school leaver, right, to be certain on what kind of future and what kind of career they want. Like to be, 17 or 18 years old and have an idea of exactly what you want to be and what degree you want to study at uni, or like whatever, whatever the path might be. It changes so often. And I mean, from my own experience, when I was in primary school, I wanted to be an anchor woman on TV, which there's certainly some parts of that have come through in my career. And then by high school, I believe I saw my yearbook a little while ago when I was packing up some things, and it said I wanted to be a forensic psychologist. But that was because I was just watching too much NCIS and Law and Order at the time. Like I was literally just being, like influenced by popular culture. And that's the thing with young minds. Like we're very impressionable. It's very much around, what's, popular or trending, or what our peers are doing, what our parents might be trying to instill in us from like a legacy perspective. So yeah, we don't have that experience, the wisdom, the emotional intelligence to be, like deciding what we want to be. And I think what can be upsetting or unsettling for a young person who does land themselves in a very, professional, esteemed role, young in life, as in being a young lecturer, which is quite uncommon. You're there at 25 and the other women are in their midlife. Even myself, going into politics and being quite young. There's a lot of pressure to operate at the same level as your peers who have all of this additional time on earth and wisdom and emotional intelligence. So yeah, I think that's really important. Teaching children, having that information for school age kids so they can make better choices and protect themselves.
And being aware that it's okay to change your mind. I changed my career when I was 30. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be very old now for this industry. I was so young for the other one. Now I'm like, these old trainers that I see at the local gym that I was attending, I was like, they're so young. I'm old. Like, I was like, you know what? I don't have anything to lose. I'm just going to dive into it. But it's just about of being able to open your heart and be like, you know what? It didn't work. I would just keep going, change it. And if you like it, amazing. If not, just keep exploring, because that's the real life.
I think it's a powerful message to anyone who is listening who's considering a career change later on in life. Like 30 is still young. I'm going to say that now because I'm 40.
I'm 36 though. I'm 36, almost there.
But 30 is still quite young, I think, in terms of changing the trajectory of your life. But some people decide to completely change their career or start a business at like 40 or 50 or 60. Like it really shouldn't matter like when and where you decide to do it. But I guess it's like how you do it and how you transition it. And what's interesting for you is that you didn't just go and do a Cert 4 in fitness and start PTing and go work for like a Fitness First and do that kind of thing, which is like, that would be like a pretty traditional path for most. You actually threw yourself into bodybuilding competition.
Yep.
as a way to stand out and demonstrate that you had that grit, that determination, that discipline, and some gold medals to show for it as well, as a way to really like launch yourself as like a somebody in an industry that is literally, you're competing with thousands of other people just like you. And I've listened to some of your words on some of your previous shows, and you talked about that, like the most important thing being able to differentiate yourself, and that like being yourself is the most important thing, but also having joy in what you do and actually treating it like fun. Because your journey, and we'll go into this now, was that for the first year of it, it wasn't fun. And you pretty much experienced this, what we would call the dark side of discipline.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about diving into bodybuilding for the first time.
So basically what I did was, because we were on COVID, and it was the first wave. I was exercising and doing a lot of things. And then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to enroll in Cert 3. But then I was talking to my grandma one day. She was a very independent woman. She was a mom of 4, single mom of 4. And she was always saying like, if you're going to do something, do it right. You're not going to do something halfies. Just do it right. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this course, but I'm going to put myself as well to basically experiment with myself and to learn as much as I can about how, because you see a lot of body transformations in the bodybuilding industry, but then the thing is, you really don't know how that transformation occurs. And you don't really understand what is everything that you need to give to make that happen.
And if people are cheating.
Exactly, yeah, right, exactly. So did all my research and tried to get to know as much as I could in that moment. I hired a coach in that time. And at the beginning, it was everything great. I was like so into it. I was so like happy. And I was like, okay, amazing. I'm going to prep, do all this. I was enrolling in a natural bodybuilding competition. So I was like, I don't want to put anything in my body. That's the only thing that I know. But there's a couple of things that you can't find online. And sometimes even coaches, they don't tell you or they don't explain you because they might be opening a lot of eyes and a lot of hearts, and then that competitor won't be basically agreeing with that.
So essentially you're now going into the what they won't really tell you that you really need to know.
Exactly. So basically what I did, I was just say yes, I signed a contract with my coach, and then I was just a soldier. And I tried to ask as many questions, but I wasn't receiving answers, you know? But I was like, you know what? But I'm doing this, so I'm just going to keep behaving and doing what he's saying. He's coaching me. I need to trust the process. As you hear, and a lot of industries says, just trust the process, just trust the process. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to trust the process.
You're literally handing your body over to someone else.
Yes, but it's not
to manage though in
but
that
we
process.
only think that it's only it's just the body, but it's not only the body, because you put your brain, and us for females, our hormones in a lot of stress. And that's something that no one knows, because it is an extreme sport. It is not healthy. And unfortunate, that show body or stage body is not gonna last long. It will just be there for maybe, that is gonna be like a 26-week prep, and you really start seeing your body change when you're like 8 weeks out of your show. So it's only gonna last for 10 or 12 weeks, and then your body is gonna ask for help. It's gonna crash. It's gonna be really telling you, look, what is happening here? What are you doing with me? And what I found out is that maybe I asked the questions, but I didn't see them as red flags when they weren't being answered.
Because you just got your eye as a competitive, ambitious
wanted to
person.
win.
You just wanted to win.
I wanted to win.
There's no red flags. It's like, it's just the checker flag at the end.
Exactly. And I was just like, I'm going to win because I know I'm very disciplined. I know I'm committed. My personality, it is a person that if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to finish it, and I'm going to do it right. And then I promised my grandma that I was going to do it. My grandma didn't even know what I was going to do, but she was like, just do it. If you say you're going to do it, just don't tell me, oh, I quit. No. You need to do it. Perfect. So that I had a little bit of expectation there. So no one in my family knew really what was happening. My mom thought I was going to be in a Miss Universe or something. She everything was super like ambiguity. That's the correct word.
Ambiguous.
Yeah, ambiguous. That's right. But absolutely, I didn't see that as a red flag. And then that coach disappeared. So I was left alone in the middle of prepping, and then I was like blank. Thank God for like the purpose of competing, you need to have different coaches. So you have a posing coach, you have a prep coach that usually is the one in charge of your nutrition and your training. So thank God I had my posing coach at that time. And I was like, this happened. I was crying. I was like, what I'm going to do? Disappeared. Like, Am I a bad competitor? Am I not going to win? Like all the doubts starts to coming out and I start sabotaging myself. Like, oh, I'm not going to do this. But then my posing coach, I was like, you know what? I'm going to coach you. I'm not the person that does this, but I've seen you the entire year really doing a great job. And I know you have a lot of possibilities to win. So you know what? Let's do this. So I was like, are you sure? She's like, yes. So I was like, okay. So it was like the angel in my journey, because with her, I started having those answers that I wasn't receiving before. In that moment, I was like, there's someone finally listening to me and understanding what is happening with me. Because then she started asking questions. Have you lost your period? How's your skin? Are you sleeping well? How's your digestive system? Let's do some blood work. And I was like, sorry, the other coach never asked me those things. And now that you ask it, you asking now this, just let me tell you, I'm not sleeping because I'm freaking hungry. My period hasn't come in like 8 months.
Whoa.
And she's like, and my hair started to fall. And she was like, wait. Okay, let me explain you. So she started to answer a lot of those questions. And I was like, wow, this is a very aggressive sport that I signed up, but I didn't know those little insights that are so important for us, mostly females, that it might affect my future, basically hormones. So after my show, I competed and did so well. And then after my show with her, I still had to work around my hormones because I had to get my period back and I had to solve so many things for my health.
How long did that take?
I think I didn't get, for example, my period in like a year and something. Yeah, it's crazy. And a lot of things came with that. A lot of mood swings, terrible.
It's essentially like almost going through a year of postpartum after having a baby. That's what it sounds like to me, because like in my experience of all of my hormones being like, like a couple of years, and it's like, why would you do that to yourself? You know, and I mean, hindsight's a bitch, right? Like you don't know. There's a couple of things I want to revisit from what you've just said, which I think some of the listeners might be interested in. The first thing is around coaching. Like even I've worked with different coaches across different sort of like industries over the years, and gosh, they are all so different. And I think it takes having to work with like a few different ones before you actually can appreciate like a coach who is worth their weight in gold versus a coach who's just a coach and is obviously not really in it for the right reasons. So coach number one that you had wouldn't answer your questions and obviously wasn't looking out for your health and wellness. Whereas coach number two, obviously a completely different experience. And even I have this with coaches, like every coach I work with, I kind of benchmark them against each other. I think, again, this is the whole like with age and wisdom and like working with different people in different industries, you get better at being able to like sift through what makes a good and a bad, you know, in this instance, coach. What would you say would be some of the things for people to look out for if they are looking at getting a coach?
That really listens on your first session and that you really feel that the person is really engaging with you. Like, couple of little things that I usually do is I'm really concerned about that client or that person, but I don't think it only as a client. I just think about what's else around that person. So I like to ask her, for example, or how's Ari? What are you going to do for the birthday? Like I try to go a little bit more above and beyond because that will give me a lot of information. How are you feeling today regarding, for example, if I'm going to train someone, or should I push that person a little bit more? Or should I push less? Should that day I should get like a little bit more in deep conversation to know what is going on? Because what I've been finding in the industry, for example, in the bodybuilding competition, is with this guy or this person was, I saw his Instagram and it was all full of gold medals, and not everything that shines, it's great, right? So, and I was like, wow, if I sign up with that coach, I'll win. But then I didn't realize that he never asked me, how are you feeling? How are you going today? He was just asking, why did you have 3 more popcorns that I sent you? And I was like, I just want to cry because I'm not having a great day, whatever it is. I didn't realize that. And I feel like that should be something that you need to select or pick when you're basically in that search of a coach. Doesn't matter the industry. You want to really try to make that connection. And because if your coach really cares about you, doesn't matter in which industry, you will definitely see great results and you will feel in a more safe space.
I think you would be more vulnerable in return as well.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
like I would think that the flip side of that would be that the client then would be more honest, more upfront and more comfortable sharing where they're actually really at and when they have stuffed up or they do need a little bit of correction. Because in my head, I'm thinking, this other coach that you mentioned with all the gold might be like more of the like hardcore discipline military SAS type training where like they are just very like do this, and then like, you know, they come down on you hard if you deviate at all from the plan.
Very transactional.
Yeah.
And after the session, it's up to you.
Yeah.
But then you can find other coaches. It depends on your personality as well, right?
Yeah.
Some people, they like it like that and it's perfect and I respect that. But for example, for me, it's more about the connection because then the way that I think it is, I can write better programs for that person.
Yeah.
Instead of putting everyone on the same bag.
I think it's the connection, but I think also with working with women in particular, and I mean our audience is predominantly women here, it is about understanding women's bodies and women's hormones. And like if you're a guy, you know, you'll be very lucky not to have to experience a lot of the hormonal things that we go through, like even just the cycles, you know, we have 4 different phases a month.
Exactly.
Guys wake up with the same hormones every day.
And they could have rough days, but it's not every 28 days as we struggle every 28 days. So I feel like you need to do a little bit of extra research. Right now, you find amazing coaches out there in any industry, like in the bodybuilding or the fitness. But as well, you need to start understanding when the red flags are coming, but as well when the blue flags are there.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. What are some of the main red flags off the top of your head?
And as a fitness trainer?
Yeah.
If you're on the gym floor and you see your coach being on a phone the whole time or even very distracted and not paying attention to what you're doing, quit it.
Yep.
Another one is the cancellations, repeated cancellations, extra wise excuses to not being there. A big red flag for me is how is the energy and how to connect with that person energy, because in my case, if you're feeling down, my goal in that session is to bring your energy into a better, to move it and to shake it and to be like, are you feeling better?
Yeah.
Great. I just tick my box for today because I make a difference. I don't want you to leave like, oh, that person just destroyed me and I just feel worse than when I came. So I feel like that's a great way of me seeing like, I like this coach or he doesn't care about me.
Yeah. What about from the nutrition side? Is there any red flags as well with like certain coaches? Like if you see these red flags in coaches that perhaps they're not really qualified to be giving nutrition advice?
Yeah, I've seen that a lot. I feel like when we talk about nutrition, sometimes people get into the extremes or they just write a Bible about something and that's the word. And in the world of nutrition, you need to be very flexible because we need to understand that the human body is so different from the other one and that no one suits the same bag. And when you when you just want to eliminate things from your daily diet, or if you want to just say this is the way and the rest is wrong, I feel like that's a red flag.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not like a one-size-fits-all approach to the actual meal plans and diets that you can give individuals. But I guess like a red flag would be like just this is the meal plan, just follow it, and it's given to every single person that comes in.
Yeah, the same one. It's terrible. Another thing that I've found is people are not explaining the meal plans if you're giving out meal plans or explaining that flexible diet that you're giving or the way that you explain the approach of nutrition to that client. Be like, look, do you know what are calories? Do you know what are your macronutrients? Do you know what is chicken? Like sometimes you need to go that simple to a person to really understand, because I'm finding, and it's true, we think that everyone knows because there's so much information, and then we have now one-on-one sessions and you realize that it's not like that. The reality is another. We need to go back to basics and really explain and then I always tell my nutrition clients too, is like ask as much as you can, because as well clients might be like, oh, this is my meal plan and I would just go home and I will try to cook it, but I really don't know what I'm eating, right? Or they just make really complicated meal plans and you really don't understand it, and so you don't follow it because you don't ask the questions.
And that's a huge one, particularly for people like in my world, because we're all very like time poor and just want to do everything with efficiency. It's like, well, the business stuff is efficient, the household we're trying to run efficient, like everything's efficient other than I would say relationship stuff, because that needs to be, like more free flowing. But there's so many other areas of our life that we can make efficient. So like the meal plans need to be like efficient as well.
Efficient, and I feel like you need to really know your client. Your reality is not the same as mine. You have a kid, I don't, right? But maybe you don't have the time, maybe I do have a little bit more time, or maybe it's vice versa. The likes, dislikes, allergies, all these habits and depending on the goal.
Yeah.
Because it's not the same
Yeah.
if you're looking to drop a couple of kgs
Yeah.
than dropping body fat,
Yeah.
that doing like a bulking season is very different. And I feel like the reality of every single person is pretty different.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know what? Another thing that is very interesting. Everyone's reality can change in a matter of weeks. So, today I'm here with 3 kids, and then tomorrow all my 3 kids went to uni, so I'm by myself. So you need to stick on the present and adapt to all the changes that is happening in the present too, in a matter of nutrition. And the idea or the goal of having a coach is to dive you and take you to that journey. As complicated or simple or as switching that it becomes, you need to really explain the client, please don't get overwhelmed. Let's do this. Let's transition to this. All right, you know what? Your goal changed. Let's take a nice deep breath. Let's go. Come on, let's work on this. Or, you know what? Let's just do a diet break. I don't want to see you for 7 days. Relax. You're going to have this homework. Once you're back, you're going to tell me everything.
Yeah.
So it's the different approaches that you can take, but absolutely you need to go above and beyond. If your nutrition coach or dietitian or any of these certified coaches are giving you are not enough, you need to start looking for someone else that really cares about you.
I mean, we're a few minutes in now, guys, but I mean, after listening to Steph, you probably can understand why I pulled her in as my coach and hired her as my coach, because she is incredible. Very, very passionate about what she does. Probably one of the most positive people I've ever met as well. I was saying that to Jack the other day, actually. I'm like, she's like the most positive person I know. So that's so good. But positivity and care, and just a really tailored approach to how you work with people one-on-one. Because the interesting thing about the phrase personal training is the first word, right?
Exactly.
It's personal. And everyone's baseline, I guess, of where they're at and where they want to be is different. And even mine has changed throughout the years. So before I was obviously pregnant with Ariella, I had always been a very fit and sporty person, similar to you. I did a lot of competition, a lot of athletics back in the day. And in more recent years, I was involved in surf lifesaving. I was doing a lot of F45 before I moved to Sydney to be with Jack. And I really liked that because very high intensity, you run around a room and you get yelled at and you just go to all your stations. And for someone like me at the time who was running a business and had 5 full-time employees and spent all day having to think for others and make sure, including clients, that I just wanted to be able to go somewhere and just follow a path and get a really good workout and sweat out. And I used to go in the morning at 6 o'clock. So it was done for the day. I was making sure I did that. But it was a different lifestyle then. I was going out a lot and doing lots of networking and drinks. And I ate a lot sitting at my desk as, there was a lot of snacking through different boredom phases and that kind of thing. So even with how active I was, I still sat naturally around that 68 to 70 kilos. I looked toned and fit, but gosh, I'm a size 6 now and I was a size 10 then. So when I look back on photos, I'm like, oh my God, I was so much big. But back then I thought I was really happy. I'm in really good shape. And I was I had great energy, very happy with where I was at. And if anything, in the back of my mind, the goal was always to try and lose a bit of weight, because I always felt like my legs were a little bit heavy or I could lose a bit more off my stomach and my abs could pop a bit more. And so I was always wanting to improve my physique at that point. And then fast forward to the pregnancy, the day I gave birth to Ariella, I was 84 kilos and now I'm 58. And most people have watched that transformation, whether they've just seen it, online, and ask what have you been doing? And whilst initially I was getting back into the gym and doing a lot of strength and that sort of thing, I had to actually stop strength training in the second trimester with Ariella because it actually made me feel more fatigued and tired than when I wasn't doing it. But I've always been very active. We had stairs in the house. I was always walking my dog, Coda, at the time. So kept the movement going, didn't put on too much weight. But it literally has just fallen off since then, as you know, because we only started working together in December. The goal was to be able to try and put some weight back on, right? Because I'm doing my Aura Ring this month told me I did 18 marathons. I'm trying not to walk as much because that's been some advice from you. Stop, your steps are crazy, get them down. So I'm jumping on the bikes now and whizzing around Sydney on the e-bikes.
I'm walking towards you.
And you're walking to me now, coming to train me at home, which is great. We're making some great changes there. But I guess the other thing too is I find that I don't snack as much during the day because it's just not time. I'm just always busy. And if I'm with Ariella, some days I just forget to eat altogether. It's just food is not on the forefront of my mind and I'm just busy. Whereas in the past, I think food was a bit of a novelty crutch type thing, but there's no room for like novelty or boredom when you're a mum, particularly if you're a mum that's got like all of this stuff that you're trying to achieve in the background that you're just dying to get to as well. Like you're just constantly in a state of fight or flight. The cortisol's raised. Like it's just a totally different dynamic that I find myself in now. And so I've always been a big believer of doing the blood work. So as you know, I went and did like a full blood work count. I wanted to see what was like going on in my body. One of the things that came back from that was not enough protein intake, which I probably should have known because I knew I wasn't eating enough food or probably enough of the right kind of food. Like I'm almost dirty bulking some days and like haven't eaten enough, just need to get some calories in. I'm going to Betty's Burger or, you know, like it's not always super, super healthy. But that was the thing for me. It's like I've got to increase protein. And so coming in to see you for that first session, it was like, I'm happy with the size that I am, but I really miss like the muscle tone. As someone with the former best bum in Australia, I want my bum to always look great because whenever that does come up in conversation, like, did you really win the best bum in Australia? Let me have a look. And you're like,
You still have the best bum.
Thank you.
Don't worry.
But yeah, the goal was like wanting to like continue to build muscle and more importantly, not even just looks aside, like I want to have energy to run around Ariella. Like I want to have energy to, you know, like bring my visions to life in the things that I'm trying to create, you know, from like even a business perspective. And I know how much like energy impacts even thinking and brain. And like I suffered from postnatal depression and anxiety after Ariella as well. So I've had like quite a bumpy ride, even just like having the energy to want to do anything at all, because it just has made me like retreat a little bit into just like comfort and not really wanting to show up in the world because I don't feel like I've been the best version of myself. And I know people can notice that. It'd be like you, like all of a sudden going quiet when you're the most, you know, bubbly, outgoing person I know right now. Like if I ran into you one day and I could sense sadness or quietness in you or stillness or even that you just weren't showing up, like I would know that something was wrong. So yeah, so in a roundabout kind of way, what I'm getting to is that I realized I needed some accountability. Like I realized, and Jack and I are very big on bringing coaches in for any area of our life at the time where we feel that we need that extra support. And obviously, as I said, accountability into having someone train me, because it's just one less thing that I have to think of, like, oh, what exercises am I going to do today? How much weight should I put on? Like, am I going to challenge myself or am I going to be easy on myself? Like, it is so important to have someone who pushes you that little bit, who also holds you accountable, who checks in. Like, you always ask me, how's your food been? Have you eaten today? How did you sleep? Like, we have these conversations all the time. And it's just good to hear that, particularly as a mum, because quite often we're the ones carrying the mental load and asking all of the other people in our lives those questions. Not many people ever ask how we're doing.
70% of my total clients, you guys are all moms. And I feel like you guys give so much for your kids, for the husband, for the business, that's why I'm always like, now it's your turn to shine. Because we forget, because you guys have so much stuff around and sometimes you're not on the top of the list. And my message for all my female clients, even if you're not a mom, but sometimes you have your work as a top one priority, and then top two is, I don't know, family, and then top three, it's your dog, whatever it is, you're almost on top 10. And then you forget about yourself. And then once you get to know me, and I try to ask as many questions as I can, I know where you at. If you're top 10, top 5, top 3, where are you sitting? Because that's very important. The more up you are, the better you're going to be with others, the better you're gonna feel, more productive you're gonna be, because you're gonna feel so great with yourself that in a matter of eating or not eating is gonna be just put it at the back, because you're putting yourself first. So you're eating the right food, you're trying to put as much protein you can. Of course, some days are not gonna be perfect, sometimes are gonna be like, oh, had a tough week. But that's life. That's a real life. And I love that you were saying that you were doing this and you were feeling great, and then you were like, oh, not shining too much. That's when the coaches, and I love that you guys do that, because the coaches really have the tools to put you back into that top one, that you always should be the first one. So you can be the best, or at least a better version of yourself.
I walked away from our session actually on Tuesday feeling like that, because Ari has had a bit of a cold, so I kept her out of daycare on Monday, and then, as you know, Tuesday morning up until help arrived and I could come to PT. But that session, so that hour with you on the Tuesday, was the first time like I had been able to do something just for me since I think Sunday afternoon, and I didn't realize it until afterwards. But I got asked, how was PT? And I'm like, you know what? It was amazing because it was the first time I've had like an hour to do something for me in what felt like a couple of days. And I really appreciated it in that moment. But what about for the women who don't do that after 2 days? Like they can go like days, weeks without, prioritizing themselves. And we all know that if you don't fill your own cup first, like you're literally pouring from an empty cup. I know it's a very cliche term to use and people have probably heard it a million times on podcast in the past, but I think we need to remind ourselves of it. So I think there's use in me repeating that right now because we have to get it through our skulls that like we do need to prioritize ourselves.
Well, after my show, when I won, like during those 2 years, because I was so focused on winning and doing the right stuff, I was on my top one, and then it was my job and it was all my clients. And then because I feel so guilty of being top number one, I put myself to top number 5. And then after my show, I just let go myself. So I put so much weight. After winning 5 gold medals and dropping 8 kgs, I put on 14. Right. So I developed a lot of eating disorders, and me being a coach, nutrition coach, and I was like, okay, no.
So out of alignment with yourself.
Yeah, and I struggled for 8 months, but as well, I then understood that my hormones were crazy. But I didn't know that because I wasn't putting myself on the top of the list. So when I started doing that, everything changed.
Yeah.
I dropped the weight. Then I decided, you know what, I need to go on a holiday because I need to put myself first so I can give the best to you guys. Because then I was feeling guilty, not being great with you guys, and basically feeling like I'm not enough. I'm not the great coach that I sometimes say or sometimes believe I am, because I try to study every time I can, try to update and upgrade my skills and be like on top of the field. But sometimes because I wasn't feeling great, I wasn't believing in me. So I was like, oh. So you need to try to find that being on top of number one is not being guilty. You're not putting everyone.
Yeah.
It's just changing a little bit of the speech.
Yeah.
Of how to treat yourself so you can be better for them.
And I think you need to, for those of us with life partners or husbands, I think the other thing too is like letting them in on like where you're at as well. Like Jack is really good. Like he will literally like bring me cups of water because he knows I'm terrible at my hydration. Have you had some water? Like drink this water, and like have you had dinner? And like I'll make you some chicken. And so it's, like for those of us, fortunate enough to have partners who are supportive like that, that's great. In the absence of having like a coach, like you can actually find someone within your family or a close friend to be that accountability partner who can check in on you and make sure that you're looking after your health and fitness and nutrition and getting your water intake and your sleep. And like you need someone to be asking you those questions, whether it be a therapist. Like there has to be someone who's checking in on you for 2 reasons. Because you need people to care about you, but you also need that accountability as well. Like if you know someone's going to ask the question, you don't especially for competitive people, like you don't want to say no. Like, have you eaten today? Like on the days where Jack asked me that and I haven't eaten, like I'm like, no. And I feel like a failure because it's a basic thing that you need to do as an adult to look after yourself is to eat some freaking food. Like,
but I feel like this podcast is really good because I feel like for a lot of people it's going to be an eye-opener and be like, okay, where I am in the list, and be like, have I eaten today?
Yeah.
Have I exercised? Do I need to call someone? Do I need to look for someone in this field that can give me the tool? Or should I call someone that I love that I know that person really cares? Because a lot of people as well, at the end of the day, if you don't take care of yourself, the other people are not going to do it as well because you don't have that self-respect and that self-love, and people won't give it to you because you don't feel that you deserve it. Some people won't give it because they're not perceiving it. So I feel like this is a really great way of telling people like it's not wrong to be on top of the list. I feel like it's the other way around, and you shouldn't feel guilty of you being the person calling and be like, hey, I just need you to tell me that I'm doing good.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, ask for help and ask for like a little pat on the back when you need it.
Or look, I'm so scared.
Yeah.
Can you please help me looking for some help? Yeah. Regardless. Yeah. If it's like postpartum depression, like even with your partner, look, you know what? I'm not feeling right. I just need 1 hour. Can you please give me 1 hour? I just need to go and breathe, or I need to do a PT session, or you know what? I need to stop. I need to go and sit with a nutritionist or a performance nutrition coach or whatever it is to get my food sorted out. If I can tick one box one at a time, you'll feel more in control, and then you'll start feeling that your back is like your life is coming back to
you. Like there's always a play in terms of there's always something that you can do in the immediate term to like completely change the trajectory of your life. It could be just that one conversation, hiring someone, doing a course, dropping into a workshop, like whatever it might be. Like there's always something that you can do that can kind of just like shake you out of whatever you're in. Even just having a few hours to yourself. I'm friends with Emily Skye. She's a fitness influencer here in Australia. You may or may not have heard of her. I follow her obviously on social media, and last week I was reading that she was feeling very overstimulated from the kids. She's got 2 kids and she runs a multi-million-dollar fitness empire as well. And so she said that her husband had taken the kids out for 3 hours, and she just literally wanted to, well, she did. She laid in the sun and she just did all these rejuvenative things, like just had some slow time to herself just to reconnect with herself without like all of this overstimulation of like children and noise and things happening. And I shared that with Jack at the time because I'm like, this is it. Like I sometimes just feel like so overstimulated, and all that's needed in that moment is just to like have some time to just reconnect with yourself and have like a bit of just calm. Like you miss the calm. Like there's a lot of chaos when it comes to kids. You just miss like those calm, like being able to just go really introspective, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, and I feel like we need to start being more kind with ourselves. Just by getting a little bit of sun, it makes you feel more grounded and be like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm so rushed that my feelings are rushed and everything is rushed. And I feel like I just need 2 seconds. And those 2 seconds can really make a massive impact in your day.
Yeah.
And you never know who you're going to impact with those 2 seconds the rest of the day as well. So I feel like sometimes regarding fitness, and when someone is like, oh, 2 years ago I was looking like this and I was like, don't worry, bodies are seasonal as well as emotions are seasonal, and nothing is going to last forever. Let's just take in control things that we can control, things that we can't. Don't stress. We will start seeing what are the options, because stress levels, sometimes we can't control them because it's out of your scope. But then we can control maybe the training that is going to release a little bit of those cortisol levels. The food, okay, and it will give you a little bit of pressure, having great comfort food, but as well on track. Oh, let's try having this type of supplements for you to improve your sleep quality. And those little things might impact the other stuff that you might feel that you can't control. So I feel like in our industry, being really kind, there's so many things happening in real life that kindness is, I think, the base of everything, more if it's with yourself.
Yeah, kindness and self-love, because as you said, the body changes. It's so seasonal. You go through so many different seasons, like physically it ages, it deteriorates, but your head and your heart, it stays the same. And so if we actually prioritize more of our mental well-being and our just like our general health and like our heart health and like our organ health and that kind of thing, and didn't get too fixated on like how it physically shows up in the body, I think that's the place to start. And I think particularly for women, it's really understanding the hormonal fluctuations and how that can impact what they're trying to achieve, because it can be so frustrating. Like we talked a little bit before about the 2 different types of, I guess, moms that would come to you, and there's some that just literally cannot get rid of the weight. They're holding it. And then the others that are like wasting away.
Exactly. So in that, what you're saying is very important, because sometimes you come with a physical goal, and the physical goal is not enough. It's more about getting that confidence back. So the goal turns around and be like, okay, I want to be strong and confident. Amazing. So let's start to build certain habits. And those little habits is going to bring other things. And then the final result, feeling strong and confident, as well the physique is going to look better, because you're so doing things right and for yourself that those little things are going to change. So of course, for example, with those moms that can't drop the weight, or moms that need to build the weight, sometimes it's just a matter of organization, structure, just a little bit of structure in their training, a little bit of structure on how they're eating, small little changes that doesn't overwhelm that person, because it can be a lot.
Yeah.
Nutrition can be very overwhelming. It can be very emotional, depending on your background.
Yeah.
If you have certain emotional attachment to it, it can be sometimes a little bit tricky. But the way that you dive into what's going to be your goal, it's the best way to approach every single person. Because, for example, a mom like you that you want to build muscle, have a little bit of extra energy, you'll be like, okay, let's try to train like this. So now that you know that you're training like this and you have a purpose and an intention with your training, it will make a little bit more sense the way that you're eating. And then you will start to understand the importance or the relevance of sleeping, or Now you know that you can't do as many steps because the steps is going to accelerate a little bit that energy expenditure at the end of the day. And what we want to do is reduce a little bit of those calories, right? So depending on what the goal is, we try to approach the kindest way. For example, me, I can control my sessions with you. I know I can't control things that it's outside of the session. So if I train you harder, you might find a little bit that you're hungrier over the day.
Yeah, definitely after legs. And I tell you what, today my hamstrings are so sore.
So
it's great.
and the way that your coach approaches as well, it makes that person to feel different or feel, in this case, hungrier. That's what we want. That you feel like, oh, you know what? And now that you know how much you need to eat in your protein during the day, you will start to be like, okay, I need to have this. I'm gonna grab a little bit of this because it's gonna help me toward my goal.
Yeah.
And for the moms that want to lose weight, it's the same thing. Okay, you know what? Get the baby out, let's go for a walk, and that's small little increases, more steps. And then you're like, okay, you know what? Let's control the protein. Don't worry about the rest. I'm just going to give you a couple of tips. Let's say, for example, let's swap the rice, the pasta for a little pumpkin, beetroot, things like that. And small little changes that I don't need to tell her, okay, we need to go into a calorie deficit.
Yeah. Scary.
That sometimes can be scary for some people.
And even me, like hearing you got to eat more, it's like, oh no, but I don't want to get bigger. It's crazy. Like that's so I actually do want to eat more. But then when you actually say it out loud,
it's like a noise. It's like, no. And that's the same thing with people that want to lose a little bit of body fat.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, a diet. Automatically, your mouth wants a Snicker, a Mars, a Kit Kat. It's like you switch on something. It's like it triggers. So the way that you talk to your client and be like, okay, let's do this, let's do that. That person is going to be like, oh, it's more than that. And at the end of the day, you will see the results. You're going to be really happy. And you'll be like, but I never did a diet, but I never been in a deficit, but I never bulk, or I never been in a surplus. Or you know what? I never had to do this. I never had to kill myself 7 times a week in a gym, or I never had to do this, because the perception on how we connect and we explain how the goal was going to be, it was a completely different approach.
A different conversation.
Exactly.
It's a good segue to talk about Hey 30s.
Yeah.
One of the things that Steph has been telling me to do is to drink more protein, like in terms of protein water, or adding like protein powders and shakes to like protein yogurts, and just trying to up my protein, obviously through supplements. So tell us a little bit about Hey 30.
So before that, I want to explain something that I think is going to be a good tip for everyone that is listening. For example, if you're a big eater and you would like to see big plates, that's me. That's me. I love to eat. But I know my body likes to grab a couple of kgs, so I want to keep myself in that certain point. So what I do is I try to grab as many less dense foods and put it in my plate. So that means that I try to grab those ingredients that I know that they're less caloric, but it's going to fill up the plate.
Yep.
So for my eyes and my brain, I'm eating a lot, but at the end of the day, the calories in that meal are not as high. It can be the opposite way. If you're that type of person that you're not a great volume person eater, we can always find a way of reaching that goal without seeing a plate like this. They're going to feel like anxious and be like, this is going to give me, I don't know how many kgs on me. Like, no. We try to make sure, and I know because you don't have the time, and for example, some people can't eat 3 eggs in the morning because they think it's too much and they feel too full. Well, we can mix and match those ingredients so everyone can, depending on your taste, depending on how your brain works and how you eat, because that's something that you have built since you're a kid. Some things are very difficult to change, and certain things your body doesn't like it. So we need to trigger your brain by having the right amounts depending on what's your goal, and including what you feel good. Some people are just scared of seeing a massive plate. Some others, they're like, yes, lucky me, I'm having more. And maybe those plates are the same calories, just different ingredients, but are the same amount of calories. So just think about how much you like to eat. And then with that, you can pick your battles.
Maybe what we'll do with the show notes is we'll actually do a list of calorie dense versus so that people listening to that can think about what they can put on those plates depending on what their goals are.
Yes, absolutely.
That would be maybe a good little actionable tip for them to take away.
Yeah, it's great, and it will be very handful for them because then they will be like, oh, you know what? Instead of having, if I like to eat less, like in a small plate, I would just add carrots and tomato. Yep. Amazing. Oh, I like a lot. Okay, I'm going to add some greens, lettuce, spinach, whatever it is.
Delicious lettuce.
Yum. But But yeah, I think it's a great way.
Yeah.
So for example, a lot of people they're struggling to hit their protein powders are a great source. And there's a bunch of options out there. And I'm working right now with Hey 30s that I'm finding that is a great brand because it was developed by a person. This lady had so many gut issues, so many skin issues. And she was approaching her 30s and be like, oh my God, I never put myself first and I have so many issues. I want to preserve my muscle mass. And she's like, but I can't find a product in the industry that I like or that basically suits my goal. And when she introduced me Hey 30s, that is a plant-based, gluten-free, lactose-free protein powder, I was like, so I can actually have this and not feeling bloated and great taste. I can bake with it as well. Has amazing ingredients such as turmeric, hyaluronic acid, biotin, has vitamin B/C. So it's a great way of having all of the vitamins and minerals that our body needs and in just a shake.
Yeah, which we don't get enough from just like the fruits and vegetables and meats and stuff because we know that, with the soil, the nutrition is devoid a lot of that stuff now. I often think when I give Ari her formula, because she still takes a toddler formula, even though she's 2 tomorrow, but I want her to still have that milk in the morning and the evenings because when I look on the list of the ingredients, like there's so many good vitamins and minerals in there for her. And that's what I recognize with this product as well. I think it's a good top up to make sure that you got like a good nutrition coming through.
Yeah, I must say that supplements are not something that you must have, but definitely it helps.
Yeah.
It helps to really get those minerals and vitamins in your system. And if you're that person that is struggling with the protein intake coming from animals or any of these sources, protein powders are a great way to really hit those numbers, what your body requires to preserve the muscle, because the muscle is the one protecting your bones. The more that we age, the bone starts to get thinner. So that's what we call bone density. We want to train and we want to eat for longevity. Once we reach 80 years old, we want to be as stable as possible. In the matter that if we fall, or we have any accidents or...
We don't break hips.
We don't break. That's one of the most common injury. And unfortunate is because we are not eating enough protein and we are not exercising to have that quality of bones that we really need when we age.
Yeah.
So
I know that's the thing. A lot of people think about like what choices I'm making at the moment are really about how I want to look or feel right now, but we really should be always thinking about like how do we want to look and feel like, in 40 years from now, 50 years from now. And it's about making like the longer term decisions as opposed to like the short term gratification, dopamine hits. Like it's hard. It's hard to sometimes sit there and actually think about setting yourself up for your future as opposed to like what you're immediately wanting from your body right now.
And the science is, it's there. It's saying, look, if we eat healthy, we will have so many great things happening in the future, such as the brain is the second gut, right? So we think with our stomach is our second gut and it's connected to the brain. So the better that we eat, the better our brain is going to work. So if you want clarity, if you want to really help with your anxiety, your depression, the way that you're eating is going to really impact that. And imagine if exercising is already as well, the science says that it's amazing dopamine effect. Well, imagine if you combine training and great nutrition. Doesn't mean that you need to avoid things. It's just what it really makes a bigger sound during your week. If you eat in at 80% of that 100% of the total days of the week, healthy, with intention, with purpose, well, at the end of the time, you're gonna feel great. The more that you age, more vital you're gonna be, and the better, basically, you're gonna be for your kids, for your grandkids, and for your partner or for your family.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Like, I think anyone listening who's found this podcast is trying to like have it all and be it all without compromise. And just such a simple thing as, nutrition and exercise can really up your performance in all of those areas of your life where you really do want to show up as your best self. So in saying that, thank you so much for coming on my show.
Thank you.
And for training me and for being such a positive impact on my life and now many others as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think there's some really good key takeaways here, but I think the main thing would be that everyone needs to find a Steph, but you can't have her because she's mine. So.
No, thank you so much for inviting me. I was so nervous, so sometimes my English is not the best.
You did great.
But thank you so much. I do everything with a lot of love and so happy to have you as my client.